Alexander the Great, the Macedonian, is considered one of the most prominent figures of the ancient world. But did you know that the young Macedonian was shown a Bible prophecy about himself? There were many Bible prophecies regarding him written by the prophet Daniel. The book of Daniel was written around 530 BC and Alexander came around 334 BC. Basically 200 years before he was born, he was foretold. Bible prophecy is impressive. The story of how he read a Bible prophecy about himself we can find from Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, the book titled Antiquities of the Jews. The story goes like this. Alexander was conquering the Middle East against the Persians. He had recently destroyed the cities of Gaza and Tyre. He was unstoppable. Word went out that he was making his way to Jerusalem. The high priest found out and poured out his heart to God. Later on, God spoke to the high priest through a dream that he should take courage, adorn Jerusalem, and open the gates. The rest of the people should appear in white garments, but the priests must meet the Macedonian king in the robes of priesthood without fear. The day came when the Macedonian conqueror came to Jerusalem, and when he was not far from the walls, the high priest went outside with a large group of citizens. The Greek army were expecting him to destroy the city, but when Alexander saw the priests, citizens with garments, he approached by himself. Those who came with him were confused and thought he had lost his senses. Eventually, one of his people asked him why he should adore the high priest of the Jews when everyone else adored him. He responded, "I do not adore him, but the God who has honored him with his priesthood." He stated, "I saw this very person in these clothes when I was in Macedonia." He was saying that before he even began his conquest, he had a dream about meeting the priests outside the walls of Jerusalem. He continues to say on how he saw this man who told him to not delay, but boldly pass over the sea, that he would conduct his army and would give him the dominion over the Persians. I have not seen any other so clothed that way since then. And now, seeing this person and remembering that vision in my dream, I believe I bring this army under the divine conduct and shall conquer Darius, destroy the power of the Persians. After the meeting, they went inside the city walls. And when the book of Daniel was shown to him, where Daniel declared that a Greek ruler shall destroy the empire of the Persians, Alexander supposed that it was him. And precisely that is exactly what happened. The Bible had predicted the Greek empire after the Medo-Persian empire. But what prophecy in Daniel was shown to him? Well, let's go to Daniel chapter 8 verse 3. It says, "Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last." Verse 4 states, "I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. And he did according to his will and became great." This part is talking about the Medo-Persian Empire. One of the 2 horns of the ram are the Medes, and the other horn are the Persians. And indeed, the Persians became higher, just as Daniel 8:3 says. And they did push westward towards Europe, northward towards Assyria, and southward towards Egypt, just as Daniel 8:4 says. But Daniel 8:5 talks about a new kingdom that comes. A goat, it states, "And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes." This goat represents the Greek Macedonian Empire because it did come from the west, and it was also quick to conquer. This is what touch not the ground means in this passage. Daniel 8:7-8 talks about the battle between the Persians and the Greeks and the goat versus ram symbolism. "Then he came to the ram that had 2 horns and ran at him with furious power, and I saw him confronting the ram. He was moved with rage against him, attacked the ram, and broke his 2 horns. There was no power in the ram to withstand him, but he cast him down to the ground and trampled him, and there was no one that could deliver the ram from his hand." And indeed, the Greek Empire destroyed the Persians, as history confirms. I believe this is the prophecy that the high priest showed Alexander. But did you know the Bible also foretold the death of Alexander and what would happen after? We read in verse 8, "The male goat grew very great, but when he became strong, the large horn was broken, and in place of it 4 notable ones came up toward the 4 winds of heaven." When Alexander the Great was at his peak, he died. Many say of too much alcohol. He was the large horn that was broken, and his kingdom ended up being divided between his 4 generals, just like 4 horns came out of the goat's head. These generals were Ptolemy, Seleucus, Lysimachus, and Cassander. The prophecy of Daniel 8 continues with the little horn rising. This little horn represents Rome because it is the empire that came after the Greeks. I hope this helps you understand the first part of Daniel chapter 8. God bless.